Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lopez,
Present.
Councilmember Keel,
Present.
Councilmember Freund, absent. Councilmember Greer,
Here.
Councilmember Schumacher,
Present.
Vice Mayor Zurcher,
Here.
Mayor Palguda.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. If anyone out there cannot see the screen, please come to the front of the auditorium, please. First item is item 2A, Emergency Management Program Introduction. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Can everyone hear me okay on the nice new system? My name is Joel Schieffer. I am the Emergency Manager for the town of Prescott Valley. It just occurred to me that I really haven't met all of you and given you an introduction into the systems and the programs that I manage, so wanted to have this study session to kind of talk about it a little bit. So when I tell people I'm the emergency manager or do emergency management, I usually get kind of a blank stare and then followed by, well, what does that mean? What do you do? So I essentially handle a lot of the prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery, things like that for incidents, emergencies, and disasters for the town, for the municipality, things like that. So it comes down to doing a lot of the planning, prevention, reducing the effects or mitigating those disasters, and then trying to ultimately have a speedy recovery after those disasters or emergencies. So there are really generally two types of emergency managers that I find. Some that migrate from just one position because there's a gap to be filled, so they might move up from public works or planning development or police, fire, something to that effect, and kind of land and fall into that role. And then there are some who kind of spend 10, 15 years doing education, responding to incidents, going from that and kind of make it a passion of that. And that's kind of where I am. So for about 15 years, I've been doing everything I possibly could to educate myself for emergency management. And aside from a lot of these qualifications, I've participated in some of the largest incidents we've had or the country has had in the last 10 to 15 years. So in California, the Woolsey Fire, Thomas Fire, Montecito mudslides, and I happen to still be there for the Palisades Fire this year. So I was working a lot of those incidents before I came home out here. So I'm just going to go through this kind of quickly because I know you have access to this PowerPoint to save everybody a little bit of time. But some of the main responsibilities that I work on is I'm a point person for large incidents, disasters, or when the fire and police department needs support. So we have a great fire department, great police department. They know what they're doing for their day-to-day operations. But should we have a major incident, sometimes it falls outside of their scope and they need help, they need support, they might want some guidance of what they should do, know who to contact to set up a shelter, get food, water coming, things like that. So I'm there at that support capacity. I also work a lot on the planning and documentation. So maintaining and updating emergency operations plans, continuity of operations plans for the town, working on or helping with security plans for buildings, for infrastructures, a lot of that coordination. And then as I've talked with a lot of you before about mass notification systems, risk assessments, evacuation planning, things like that. Also planning and preparing for exercises, damage assessments after those incidents and emergencies, rebuilding efforts, and then assisting other organizations, schools, private industries in the area, things like that for their emergency planning and preparedness. Some of the main benefits that stick out to the community is proactive planning, reducing risks, and ensuring swift action during some of those crises. Clear and timely updates to keep residents informed. I'll talk about that in a little bit with the RAVE notification system, but that's a really big part of this puzzle. And preparing the community to be more self-reliant, more resilient, and to recover quickly. The less they need us in an emergency, the more resilient and the faster they will be able to recover. And then finally, providing peace of mind, knowing that someone within the town is there looking out for their best interests, trying to help solve this quickly and helping to recover quickly. Some of these impacts, just to touch on a couple, is a long-term power outage, public safety power shutoffs, which I know you've all heard about, and they're starting to be a little bit more common. Activation of community warming or cooling centers, wildfire threats, flood preparedness, things like having fire-wise communities, stuff like that. So I think most of you have probably seen this before, but this is a great chance for everyone to snap that QR code. RAVE is our mass notification public alert system that we're using. It's really been rolled out this year in force, and it's kind of a regional program that Prescott Valley is doing along with Prescott and the Regional Communications Center. So anyone can go to prescottvalley.alerts.gov and get signed up. I'll leave this up here for just a minute more so people can snap the QR code if they want. Within that, you enter your name, contact information, you select what type of alerts you want to receive, and you go through that process, and that's the best way that we can notify you about any evacuations or anything that you might need to do.
Sir, if I could just interrupt for a moment. Of
course.
This replaced another system that we used to have, Nixle, right? Could you explain the difference? Or was this something totally?
This was slightly different, but related. Nixle was kind of a police department system that they used. It was a duplication of efforts, essentially. We've had RAVE for a couple years. It was provided free to the state of Arizona by Motorola, and then that was passed down to the 911 dispatch centers. We did previously have a different RAVE, which we found a more efficient way to do it, to work as a unified program with Prescott. So we kind of migrated that RAVE over to this unified program. And just to reduce the duplication of efforts and streamline it more, we got rid of Nixle. So this is the sole place to get up-to-date alerts. Sure. Great question. So another program that we've really rolled out this year is Genesis Protect. This is also a free app that everyone should download and have on their phone. You need to enable location services, but this does not share any information at all with us. All of these apps are very private about their data. It doesn't tell us that you've downloaded it, your name, nothing about you is shared. This just simply tells you what area you're in, if you're in an evacuation area, if you should be evacuating, if you should be returning home. For our Red, White, and Boom event, I put in all of our road closures, parking lots, things like that. So someone could have pulled up this app on their phone and seen that, oh, this road is closed, I should go this way, and here's where I should park. So it's a great app to have as well on your phone. The third app we're really not affiliated with at all, but this is one of the best apps out there for good situational awareness. So we all see smoke in the air and wonder what's going on, where it is, how big it is. Watch Duty is another free app. They do have paid versions, but it's essentially a free app that tells you where that fire is, how big it is, who's responding, how long it's been going. And it's all open source information. But if I had to choose only 3 apps to follow, these would be those 3 that I would use. So there's a few ways residents can participate. I'll be working on increasing these, but they can attend any type of emergency preparedness training, workshops, drills, join local response teams. I know American Red Cross desperately needs shelter volunteers to help put up a shelter. Create family emergency plans with 2-week supplies of food and water. Everyone used to always say you need 3 days of food and water, but with more major disasters happening, they really realized that you need to have 2 weeks of supplies to be resilient. So also something that's really often overlooked is having a communications plan. When disasters happen, cell towers go down, phone lines get jammed, sometimes you can only text message. So everyone really needs to have an out-of-the-area family contact or someone that they call in the next state and say, or send a text message and say, I'm okay, just letting you know I'm finding my way home. And then all of your family at least has one central point of contact that everyone can check in and let them know that they're safe. So, follow a lot of the best practices. We have some great Firewise communities out here that do a great job. We work a lot with the National Forest Service, fire departments, Prescott Fire Department, all around here is just really a model for having a good Firewise community. So follow all those best practices on brush clearance, things like that. And then ultimately sign up for those Prescott Valley alerts and know your evacuation routes, which is part of that Genesis Protect app. A few communication channels here to go through. Like we said, sign up for the alerts, prescottvalley.gov or prescottvalley.alerts.gov. I apologize, there's a typo there. The Genesis Protect app. our official Facebook, and our official Instagram. That's really the best way for a unified message for the singular messages through our social media. And just to touch on a couple workflows that I have coming up, doing a lot of training with CAFMA, the police department, the sheriff's office. There's been a lot of talk and questions about town evacuation routes that I'm working on. Community plans with local schools, improving the Genesis Protect app, and then continuing outreach with various HOAs and then also local youth organizations, Boy Scouts, Boys and Girls Clubs, things like that. So. And ultimately, we want everyone in the public to get involved, stay informed, be prepared, and help to make our community safer and more resilient.
Thank you, sir. Council, any questions? Vice Mayor?
Joel, great presentation. Thank you.
All
Question for you. And, I know, you're from the state that won't be mentioned. That's to the west. There they have the emergency operations manager who basically in an emergency is the single point, basically in charge. Is that what your role is here in Prescott Valley? So I want to just, preface that, like during Legato, the fire chief called Gilbert called Neil to make sure that we had enough water pressure. Would that contact then be you as opposed to Gilbert in that situation?
It is, and yes, but I want to just add a little bit of clarity that when they do have those incidents, it usually shifts into what they call unified command. So you'll have your emergency manager that kind of, I don't necessarily want to say oversees, because I've had some meetings with people where they essentially thought from the PD, CAFMA, oh, okay, so when we have this incident, you're in charge, right? And I don't want to look at it that way. That's not why I'm here, what I do. I'm here to support. So yes, I have experience with those disasters. I might have some other alternate ideas, but our fire department knows what to do there. They know where to put the water. They know how to manage it. They don't need me to tell them what to do. Same with the police department. They know how to manage it, what to do. So yes, I will be that sole point of information. I will feed Gilbert anything and everything he asks and needs and can do, but I'm here in a support capacity. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. I kind of knew the answer to the question, but I just, appreciate, your response. Thank you.
Sir, I hope your time here in Prescott Valley is a very, very dull and boring time, because if you're actively working really, really hard, it means something's gone really, really bad. So
I'm working to keep it boring.
thank you, sir. Next up, item 2B, Prescott Valley Library Community Assessment results. Ms. Van Haren.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. It's a pleasure to be here today. Myself and Michelle Yording, who is a Public Services Manager, would like to go over the community assessment that we recently did with the library. This is our second community assessment that we have done, and I'll go over a little bit why it's important and the process. So our community assessment, why we do a community assessment and why it's important is, libraries are always evolving. We're not necessarily a traditional repository for books anymore. We're a community hub. We provide education, access to technology, social services, and cultural programming. Some of the reasons this assessment helps us is to understand our community needs and priorities. We align our library services with our programs, meaning we design programs around our community needs. Our impact isn't always measured in numbers, it's measured in meaning. Even only if a handful of people attend our programs, it has the potential to be life-changing for one or two individuals, then we've done our job correctly. Also, we want to demonstrate our value and secure funding. A lot of our funding sources are through Library Services and Technology Act grants, which are through the State Library and through the Institute of Museum and Library Services. We have to justify our funding, and our community assessment gives us that data to ask for that funding. And so far, we've successfully acquired grants for the last 12 years. 12 years with over $300,000 in grant funding. So a lot of this data has helped us acquire that funding. Also, it helps foster community engagement and trust, and it helps us plan for the future with our strategic plan and how we provide our services to the community. So with that, we'll go through the history, how we did our community assessment, the key trends, and the 5 areas of focus based on those key trends. So like I said, we did our first community assessment in 2019. Michelle and I wrote a $30,000 Technology Act grant. We were able to utilize a technical professional in the library field to help us train over staff to provide 30 conversations to facilitate those conversations. And based on that, our focus areas were developed based on feedback, emerging trends, and local challenges in the community. So how do we do it? Now here we are, 2025. During COVID or after COVID, we saw a big shift in our community and their needs. So all of those services that we offer between 2019 and now, we needed to rethink what we were doing. So we went back, talked to our senior centers, we talked to schools, parent-teacher organizations, people attending our library programs. We talked to the PD because they're out in the community and they also see those needs. So the questions we asked were, if you have a library card, if not, why? What do you see families or community members struggling with? And again, PD was such a great resource because they're on the front lines and they see exactly what our community struggles with. Do you attend library programs? How do you like to hear about our events and programs? And do you have suggestions? They were just 5 simple questions that we would insert ourselves into important meetings in the community. And I think one of our favorite ones is our moms group. There's like 100 moms that meet, and we have received the best feedback from them. So we really appreciate their time and that they allowed our staff to talk to them. So we also sent out a survey to our community, and we asked them, what are some of the issues you're facing? Of course, none of this is surprising. Healthcare, house challenging, transportation, economic struggles, education. Most of our community is very satisfied with our programs that we offer here. We're effectively communicating those programs. Our visitation patterns, we could always work on boosting our daily engagement, which that's one of our focus that we're going to do. Our preferred events are, of course, our arts and crafts, art author talks, technology workshops, and, of course, programs for teens. Of course, throughout these conversations, we wanted to find out what are the barriers in use, limited hours, suggestions for improvements, program offerings. So a lot of times we have programs in the morning and the afternoon, but we have working adults who don't come home until 5, 6 o'clock, or they have games, taking their kids to games, so they want a program in the evening. So that's something that we're going to work towards, is extending our hours of operation. So I'll be coming back to you probably in September to have a plan to adjust our hours for a little while. Also, we need to enhance our resources. Technology and study spaces are extremely important. Also, there's such a huge digital divide with our seniors that they struggle with technology, and they always come to the library for that help. Of course, community values, our patrons value our library, and the classes, educational materials that we have here, and we create a sense of community. So, based on our assessment, we have 5 areas that we have focused down in that we will be revolving our classes, our programs, our services, our materials around these 5 areas. So economic empowerment and financial literacy, adults, teens, and youth. Again, financial literacy was a huge key focus area. Of course, STEM and hands-on learning opportunities for teen and youth, coding clubs, maker spaces, so we will be highly focusing in on those areas. Wellness and social connection for teen and adults, So again, teens wellness programs, creative classes, and therapy dogs. I have to tell you, yesterday we had puppies and pizza here yesterday. There were 78 teens for that program alone. That was huge. It may not seem a lot, but our teens need a place to go, and that was a huge program. Our teen librarian, Autumn, was able to engage with new teens, and they're going to be working in different capacities in our teen department with our librarians, so we're really excited about that. A big one is our coffee with a veteran that we have, and we'll be continuing that. Of course, creative classes and community recreation. Another huge area is homeschool support and flexibility in our program. So homeschool hangouts, we already have a great partnership with a homeschool group. And of course, outreach, so homeschool resource kits, themed book bundles, and tailored outreach programs. And of course, community engagement. We can't always just keep ourselves here in the library. We need to go out and show our effectiveness in our community. So we do have a bookmobile. We're working on that. I cannot wait. We're going to have pop-up libraries, presence at all of our events. For adults, we're also going to have our book festival this year, which is already in the planning, and we have some great, can I announce one of the authors? Anne Hillerman, Tony Hillerman's daughter, is going to be a speaker at our book festival, which is May of 2026. So we're extremely excited about that. We continue to get other authors, and I have a feeling we're going to put this on the map for our community. Also, teen social connectivity programs. Teens are very social, and we offer them a safe space to be themselves here. And that's it. Any questions?
Questions or comments for Ms. Van Haren? Casey, I just want to let you know I had an event at Fry's yesterday. It was like the Ask the Mayor event that I have there. And I had two separate families come by, and they had their kids with them, teenagers, and they both families talked about pizzas and puppies and how much they loved it. And it was obviously the same day. They just came over after for groceries, but kudos to you. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next up, item 2C, Chapter 14, Subdivision Code Revision. Ms. Kennedy, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, council members. I'm here to give you an introduction once again to Frank Cassidy, who is our land use attorney acting as a consultant to update our Chapter 14. Some of you may realize last year or over the past year, we updated Chapter 13. That was much more involved than 14. Chapter 14 updates, there's three things we had to consider, of which Frank will go through. One, we reorganized the Chapter 14 so it's easier to read. Two, we responded to legislative 2025 actions. Three, we had Chapter 13, some elements of 13 affected Chapter 14. It included input from our development services staff, as well as our town engineer, John Latier, and our development services engineer, Brian Reed. So we went through the document, compared it to state legislation, and that's what you see in your packet, the final draft. We're here to study it with Frank and then get your input to move forward and approve it on a later date. So I turn it over to Frank Cassidy right now.
Welcome, Mr. Cassidy. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Are you able to hear me okay?
You're sounding great, sir, so take it away.
Very good. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm pleased to be here with you. Not exactly with you. I appreciate the opportunity to present remotely so I didn't have to drive through Phoenix on a 115-degree day. But as Donna was saying, we've been working on code updates, which were part of the effort recognized in the as part of the General Plan 2035 process. The idea was to try to update some of these codes. So obviously went through a long period of time with Chapter 13. During that Chapter 13 process, we had been talking about bringing back to you Chapter 14, the subdivision chapter, with provisions for having those subdivision reviews be administrative. Back in 2023, the legislature adopted a law that allowed cities and towns to provide for administrative reviews of subdivision plats and various other things. And so we had planned to bring forward to you, using that recent legislative authority, a change to the subdivision chapter that would cause the subdivision reviews to be administrative, so they'd be approved basically by the city and the town engineer instead of coming to commission and council. Well, as it turns out, the legislature threw us a curveball this year. So in 2025, they adopted a law that's in your materials. It is House Bill 2447, which flipped the switch on optional. Back in 2023, there was this optional ability to do administrative reviews of plats and things. And now in 2025, the legislature has said, let's make them mandated. So the legislation, which goes into effect at the end of this year, now says that all cities and towns must make preliminary and final plats administrative, approved by administrative personnel. And then they also have other things that must now be approved through administrative processes. Development plans, design review plans, which are not going to be part of Chapter 14. They'll be put into Chapter 13. Land divisions, lot line adjustments, things like that. So all of these things are now required to be administrative, and this new law then caused us to add some of those elements into Chapter 14. So that's one of the things that we've done. Now, I was interested to hear Donna say that you're looking at the final draft of Chapter 14, and I have to say, so this slide, by the way, just tells you about House Bill 2447. There was also another statute that was adopted, Senate Bill 1353. It expands the ability to use a different kind of subdivision assurance, so it's going to also affect something that we do in Chapter 13, and it'll also require an amendment to your Chapter 7, which I won't be involved in. You'll probably be happy to hear that. But in any event, when Donna said that it's a final process, the final product, the reality is that your staff and I, we meet every week. So we continue to do little tweaks to it. It is very close. The one that's in your packet is very close to what is the absolute final draft. And we felt like it was in a good position to present it to you and take questions from you about it. But there will be some tweaks. We're continuing to get feedback from departments. We're continuing to look at it. We might even slightly change the name of the chapter because the name that we have on the chapter is a little clunky, and I want to try to make it a little more descriptive and whatever. But in any event, on this slide kind of gives you an idea of what we're covering. On the left side, it really tells you what we're doing. It establishes street and utility improvement requirements. It tells you what the processes are for preliminary plats, final plats, final development plans. If you remember in Chapter 13, we introduced the idea that preliminary development plans are those rezoning entitlement plans. That's the documentation that comes to you when you're approving a rezoning. And when you approve that rezoning, it's subject to a developer conforming their project to the promises they made to you during the rezoning processes. And those promises we refer to as the preliminary development plan package. Well, once they're moving on to construction, the kind of development plan that they present to the town engineer is what we call the final development plan, and that now would come only to the engineer, because essentially all it's doing is it's carrying forward with greater detail the information that was in the preliminary development plan and bringing it forward to a constructible plan that, you know, the technicians, the town engineer, and others would then review and approve administratively. So there's various other things here. This slide actually says design standards and principles. Those will actually be in an amendment to chapter 13, which we'll bring to you later this year. The other thing that we're doing is, and I think we mentioned this last year when we did chapter 13, that over the years, chapter 13, the zoning chapter, had land splits as part of that chapter. And we had always said, really, it probably makes more sense to put that in chapter 14. So we're going ahead and doing that as well, because it's more of a administrative type of thing, unlike the zoning process. So that's kind of where we are. In the future, as I said, you're going to see a design review plan section. You'll also see some other tweaks to chapter 13. You know, we always think that we bring you the best possible thing, but as soon as you finalize something like the zoning chapter, somebody says, hey, Frank, you know, I'd rather have this tweak. And then other things come up, you know, in a vibrant community like Prescott Valley. So we're going to come back to you with those, and then the departments will come back to you with revisions to chapter 7 as well. So there's a lot of information in the draft that's in your materials, the draft chapter 14 that's in your materials. So I'd like to basically open it up to any questions that you might have on the process, and any questions that you might have about the elements that the state legislature has imposed as a mandate on cities and towns. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up.
Council, leave anything for center? No? Mr. I'm sorry, was there? No? Sir, did you have anything?
Just available if any questions.
Gotcha. Frank, I just want to thank you. I mean, this is a lot of work that you put in, and staff every single week, and we appreciate you kind of cleaning it up and making it a little clearer for everyone to quite understand what's happening.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity.
I feel like you've been around a long time. I feel like we see you all the time.
I'm sorry about that, but I appreciate it.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, with that being said, moving on. Mr. Davidson, you're taking this one?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, yes, I am your substitute presenter. I'm third string, so hopefully we lower the bar of presentation here. So I'm going to be just kind of a high-level overview of the business license, and we're going to be doing some recommended modifications for it. The town has historically, and do we have a PowerPoint? I'm going to pull it up. I'm not going to go through all of the slides that we were going to present, and it certainly, if the public wants to look at some of the slides, but there will be two that I want to highlight. But we've historically had a business license for the town, and basically how that works is any business, both businesses that had been in town, physically in town, and out of town, which could be everything. So that could be consultants, that could be people just temporarily doing business in the town, were required to do a business license. And we modified that a few years ago, and state law also was changed that only if you're going to have a business license, it could only be with those that were physically present within the community. So we made that adjustment. Previously too, we used the business license to do other types of inspections with that, and we took that out to kind of streamline things. So where we're at today and what we're going to be recommending to the council is to move away from a business license to a registry, a business registry. So I'm going to kind of cover that real quick. So Fatima was going to go through all of these items with you. I'm going to spare you the detailed ARS components to this, but this is basically the background, the authority component. We were talking about just the overall, like what the business license does for a community, the challenges that we've currently had. There's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of keeping track of every business and when their license was due. And so what we're going to be recommending is changing to basically a one-time registry. So when a new business comes in, they would pay their processing fee, which is would be set at $60, which is our current business license. And so long as that business, continues to operate, there's no major changes with the business, they wouldn't have to do anything else. There would be no more renewals. So this is a good thing for businesses in that once they are in the registry, they don't ever have to worry about a renewal. They're going to save a $30 annual renewal going forwards. So that's a cost savings to all of our businesses. And it's just not something that they have to keep track of, and it reduces a lot of the internal paperwork that we have to do of those annual reminders. And then what we get out of that is we would then have a full list of all physical businesses within our community. And what we'll do with existing businesses that have a renewal coming up is we will not charge them at the $60. They'll maintain at the $30 renewal, but once they pay that $30, then they're done for good. They will never have to pay another thing. So if something's coming up on the renewal, that's how they'll get entered into the registry component, and then they're finished at that component or at that part of the process. Let me pause there, see if there's any questions on that.
Mr. Davison, so just to clarify, if a business relocates and just moves down the street, they restart over and have to pay another $60, or how does
No,
that work?
yeah, it wouldn't be if it's a location change. It'd be if the business is, the nature of the business changed to something else, sold to
For example,
different-
like Archer Bikes is going to relocate from up by Home Depot to down the street.
No, they would just
They're
give an
okay.
update on if an address change type thing.
Okay.
Correct.
Councilwoman?
And then what about if a business goes out of business? Is there going to be a way to take that name off?
If it goes out of business and we know about it, it'll be deleted out of our system. If someone new comes in to that same building, they would have to be registered.
Thank you.
Correct. Any other questions? So the only other part to this, and this is probably really exciting to all of you and to the public, we're going to move the business license responsibilities from the clerk's office to development services. And the reason for that is we want to begin to create more of a one-stop shop experience for anyone that's dealing with the town. So we want to streamline what people have to deal with when they're coming in and working with the local government. So development services is really the front counter operation that every business deals with, because they've got to either go through a zoning change or a building review, and having the business registry housed there is all one-stop shop. And we'll have a software system where all of our business names will be listed in one system, and they can do all the cross-checks and those types of things, and we'll be able to issue these registries much faster than we have in the past. So that's pretty much the presentation. So this is just kind of the flow chart of what we're going to be working on. It doesn't affect peddler's license, liquor licenses, or special event licenses. So none of those items are being modified with this. With that, I'll take any other questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Davidson? The application, is it available online? Are they able to do it?
We will
online?
have all that available online
It'll be
once
all online.
it's approved by council. Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. See no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And that, folks, is it. You have a great day. Stay cool out there.